I can really fancy it, because women do have issues in Karachi, women in Pakistan in general, but I feel like at least we do.
Before I started this, so thank you to Saida and everyone else here, I want to just say a little bit about the Cambridge Karachi portrait. I'm a portrait artist, and when I gave up my job at the Foreign Office last year, I thought I was going to lock myself in a room and just paint portraits. Very soon, within about a month, I think, I started to discover that there are other ways of producing portraits, that I could use photography and film and storytelling, and I decided that perhaps I wanted to explore something with Pakistan again. Perhaps I had some unfinished business, who knows. So I decided to choose Karachi. A few people tonight have said, why did you pick Karachi? Cambridge is where I live. I've lived there on and off for 20 years. I've lived in lots of other places, but I've always come back to Cambridge. One thing I love about it is the diversity that it offers. It's such an international city, and I feel very at home there. I picked Karachi probably because it was a business hub, one of the biggest business hubs in the world, and my starting point was to get some volunteers from the Cambridge community who were business people, and I thought this might be a good way of connecting Cambridge to Karachi. But the thing that really spurred me on was actually a member of the Pakistani Ministry of Information, who is a friend of mine, who said, there's no way you'll ever find any connection between these two cities. No way. So the minute I hear something like that, it's a bit of a challenge, because I think that people are the same in many cities in the world, and it was about connecting with the people rather than some of the bigger issues. So I began with asking for volunteers from the Cambridge community. I was exploring an open practice in my art practice where I had in my mind I wanted someone that fixed bicycles for some reason, or worked on a punt, but actually the people that came forward were quite different. All three of them were women, and they were all involved in quite ethical businesses, which was a joy to then go to Pakistan and try and find people that were inspired by social enterprise and by things like developing crafts and trades. And I was also presented with what I thought was quite a difficult task. A whole community in Cambridge, from Mill Road, which, if any of you know Cambridge, is an incredibly diverse area, international area, and most international students feel very at home in Mill Road, because there you'll find African food, Chinese food, Korean, halal food, it's a real mixture. And I was slightly concerned because I realised I have my own misconceptions about Karachi. I thought, I'm not going to find diversity in Karachi. I was very wrong. I met a woman called Ramana Hussain, who's, if you get a chance to look at her book Karachi Wala, which is about that thick and represents several years' worth of work, you will see the many layers of diversity in terms of race and ethnicity, and the fact that Karachi is very much a migrant city. And she took me to a place called Sada, which you'll see in the film, and I met Hindus and Christians, and I saw churches and all things that perhaps you only hear about if a bomb goes off in a church, but it was lovely to be able to explore that without having that context. So what's happened is this dialogue between the two cities has emerged. I've produced a book. Now this book wasn't really intended to be for commercial sale, it's actually for my studies. But how I've laid it out is, and there are some, if you want a copy, I can let you have one for £15, which is more or less cost. But on each side, one picture is of Cambridge and another is Karachi. And again, these pictures are not contrived, they just kind of arrived and they came about. That's Newhall in Cambridge, which is an all-girls, gender-segregated education establishment in Cambridge. And this is Karachi University. So, and these pictures just sort of arrived. So feel free, I'll put the books out to have a look through it. That's one of the outputs, and I'm hoping that people might see these and want to exhibit them on the walls. Another output that's recently arrived, with thanks to Faraz, is the CambridgeKarachi.com website. and I'm hoping that this will provide a more sustainable, ongoing dialogue between the two places. Already things are happening, like someone in Cambridge, one of the participants, Wendy, wants to hold a fundraising dinner to raise money for rural women in Pakistan that are practicing traditional crafts, and they want to develop the traditional way of working. So all these wonderful connections are happening. The film is just really a demonstration of my journey. It's not really a documentary. Kind of is a documentary because it documents, but it's hopefully a bit of fun. It also comments on my very British identity. And it's quite funny because I showed it to a group of Russian students this week. And I don't know where Stephen is, but yeah, he was there. I love Monty Python. It's I think, one of Britain's best exports. And the young people in the room had never heard of Monty Python. And so the beginning of the film and the voiceover that I've chosen really harks back to kind of 1950s British information films. But these Russian students didn't get it at all. They just thought it was a bit weird. So don't forget that I'm an artist, not a filmmaker. I'm far more comfortable painting pictures than I am making films. And this is my first ever proper film screening. So with that, I will want to welcome Faraz. Faraz is in the film and an incredible, inspirational character. So do you want to say a few words about how it was for you?
Assalamu alaikum. I was contacted a few months back by a friend of mine, which is kind of a mutual friend between Caroline and myself, Mudassar, and said, there is a very interesting project happening, and I would like you to actually, get connected. And we started the email interactions, and Caroline gave me an introduction of Cambridge to Karachi project. Now, my background is basically grassroots Pakistan, and I'm working here in London as well. And amongst our circles, amongst our friends, amongst our stakeholders and partners, we always used to complain, still do complain, rightly in a lot of ways, that Pakistan is not projected in the right sort of a way, that there are all negative areas that are projected in the media. There is a positive Pakistan, there is a good Pakistan, there are grassroots, good human individuals who are doing fantastic work, and no one talks about them. So when this project came up, my personal enthusiasm was right at the peak. So fantastic. And as the project grew and progressed, I realized that this is something that the people from Pakistan would have should have started. I really am very thankful to Caroline and Ingrid that we came all the way to Pakistan. They spent a lot of time there. They picked up elements that I don't think that any journalist or any individual would pick up. Those connections that on surface level would not seem as connections, but they are the true connections. After saying all that, there are just two bits that comes to my mind, and I would like to share that with you. In mid-2000, we started a program of Vibrant Pakistan, a campaign to project a positive image of Pakistan. And unfortunately, that whole campaign collapsed. One of the reasons it collapsed was because we did not concentrate on linking the culture, history, art, music, entrepreneurship of Pakistan with the Western cultures, with England, with America, with any part of the world for that matter. And what this particular project does, it's exactly the same. It connects entrepreneurship, it connects arts, culture, it connects people with the right sort of impact. And the second bit that I want to say is just thank you. Seriously, it was a fantastic experience to be a part of it. And I would urge and support all Pakistani and non-Pakistani stakeholders to support such endeavors, and specifically this one. I wouldn't take much of your time, and let's go to this wonderful project. Thank you.
I will now invite Deputy High Commissioner to say a few words, and High Commissioner might be joining us towards the end of the program because he had to go somewhere. He was already committed, so he might be joining us towards the end. So, Deputy High Commissioner.
Thank you, Sayeda, and a big thank you to Caroline for your efforts. And in fact, this shows the kind of partnership which is needed between Pakistan and UK, and you have started with that, and I'm hopeful that others will take the cue. Cambridge and Karachi, the commonalities which you have drawn, in fact, we might have passed through those streets, but we never thought about it. So it's very thoughtful of you to thought about the commonalities, which otherwise in the current media war and the hype, we miss. For the filmmakers and the artists, this is what distinguishes an artist and a common man or a professional. So it's your eye, and we praise that eyes, that you could discover those similarities. I can also draw certain commonalities with regard to our founding fathers. They have been associated, our leaders who have been associated with Cambridge in the past, including Muhammad Ali and Dr. Abdul Salam. They have been studying in Cavendish and the Emmanuel College, and also, I think, Holy Trinity. But here I have seen the brochure, I haven't seen the movie yet, and I'm sure this book actually is inspirational. In fact, sometimes it becomes difficult to distinguish whether we are talking about Cambridge or Karachi. So this is the beauty of this book. And I'm glad that I'll be able to watch together with you this movie, and hopefully that it will also attract wider audiences. I welcome you again. And High Commission is at your disposal. We are at your disposal, and we welcome you and congratulate you for this wonderful endeavor that you have made. Thank you very much.
Like, I can really bad seeing it, because women do have issues in Karachi, women in Pakistan in general, but I feel like at least we're good.
In the Sana area of Karachi, the Lady of Cambridge meant transvestites, Hindu women road sweepers, a Catholic lady,